Okay, so Elon Musk, he put a lot of money into Donald Trump's campaign. He has more or less pledged $75 million for reform in the UK. He sees the AFD as a uh, similar to Trump, similar to reform in a way. I'm not sure how much money he's willing to give the AFD, but this is a little bit about it.
Ollie, you're going to be busy next year. I wonder, how are the polls looking when we think about this election in Germany?
Yeah, so listen, Lizzie, we just had this sort of a Bundestag officially dissolved, which really paves the way for what we expected in terms of the timeline, which is the election on February the 23rd. The president did that just a few days ago. And now when we look at that, we're looking into the polls, what we're seeing is a reflection of what we've seen in the last few weeks going into this election, which is the CDU, the CSU alliance, led by Friedrich Merz, really leading in the polls at about 31% in the last poll that we've got from INSA. But then in the second position, you have the AFD, the Alternative for Deutschland, that's holding about 20% of the vote, followed then by the SPD, Scholz's party, to sort of end up in third place, and then sort of trailing that, the Greens. What becomes interesting now is that although you had this sort of election due to instability and a coalition that really just couldn't get along, you seem to have a situation where you're obviously going to have another coalition governing in the sort of country. And the sort of difficulty that you have this time around for the mainstream parties is that the AFD, the Alternative for Deutschland, a party that the entire political establishment in Germany has boycotted, has refused to work with, is now the second party in Germany, has about 20% of the vote. And to make things even spicier, Lizzie, we have had, Elon Musk was not content to just wade into American politics, but also into German politics, doubling down this weekend, putting out an editorial in the Welt and Sonnendag, saying that the AFD, even though it is described as a far right, represents a political realism that resonates with many Germans who feel that their concerns are ignored by the establishment. It addresses the problem of the day without the political correctness that often obscures the truth. And just to sort of put a little bit of context as to why this sort of matters so much in Germany, the AFD, it's a very fraught issue for many Germans here. This actually led to the resignation of the newspaper's editorial head on the opinion columns because they put this out. We had Friedrich Merz, the leader of the CDU, for his part, coming out after these sort of remarks by Elon Musk, saying that I cannot remember a comparable case of interference in the election campaign of a friendly country in the history of Western democracies. And again, when you look at sort of the AFD and what they are sort of proposing, there is obviously the very hard line on immigration. That is the sort of thing that has been adopted more and more by the CDU in the mainstream. But they want to withdraw Germany from the Eurozone. They want to exit the EU. These are some of the ideas that they're sort of campaigning on. So at a moment when you have a very sort of fractured political establishment in Germany, where it's certainly going to have a coalition, when you have about a fifth of the vote going to a party that wants to leave the Eurozone, hardly sort of bodes well for the sort of EU and the European project going into 2025.
I've got to be honest.
I mean, you hint at it, Ollie, but immigration, therefore, clearly going to be a theme in European politics as we head into 2025. What else is going to be on the agenda across the continent?
Yeah, so listen, Lizzie, I think that we would be remiss. I mean, it seems that everything is coming down to the budget these days because, of course, Germany and France and sort of broader Europe, growth is very, very slow. And that is making very, very difficult decisions to be made in terms of trade-offs for governments. And that is leading, as we have seen at the very core of Europe, to the collapse, yes, of the German government first, but then, the French government repeatedly. We're seeing it over and over again. They can't agree on a budget because the growth and the money is just not there. Add to that the Trump presidency, which is looming on January the 20th. What are we going to get in terms of tariffs? We sort of got a little bit of hints from that from Trump a couple of weeks ago. He really wants the Europeans to buy more oil and gas from the United States. But that bears obviously massively not just on the economy, but also the other conflicts, with whether it's in Ukraine, whether it's in Syria. You have this sort of position now where Syria is a major political issue for the Europeans because it prompted so much immigration over the last sort of decade or so. And the question is, as Trump has said, he does not want to be involved in reconstruction. He does not want to be involved in Syria. This is yet another thing for the Europeans to pick up, to say nothing of some of the other sort of strange things we've been seeing in terms of election interference in Georgia and Romania, to say nothing, Lizzie, of undersea cables being cut, it seems, every sort of week. What you need right now is a unified, strong Europe. What you have is something very, very sort of different from that. I think the hope for the Europeans is that you get some kind of decisive outcome here in Germany, where you have Germany sort of in a position really coming from strength. But as we have enumerated, there's some obstacles to that really coming to be the case.
Oh, wow. She's been looking for an insight in that data forever.
Oh.
Hi.
I'm gonna find it.
Did you tell her about Sasvia?
No, I thought you did.
I'm gonna tell her.
Oh, no.
The quickest way from a billion points of data to a point of view. Sasvia.
I was going to start tonight's show.
Okay, so Musk to possibly invest in the AFD. What do you make of that? Comments below. Do you think Musk getting involved in British politics and German politics, do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing? I think he's obviously got the money and he believes in these parties, similar ideologies or same ideology. Why not? Okay. Cheers, guys.